that's interesting. Come on, you may come and have a chair. I want you to be comfortable. And I'm very pleased, especially today. I'm very pleased that they made my grave under a tree.
Me too.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Von Goetz, but that's the name I had after Ellis Island. Before that, I was Victor von Goetz. And see, they put an umlaut back in Austria where I was born. They had an umlaut for the O.
What's an umlaut?
Well, that's the sound they make in the German language.
Oh.
So they don't make that sound in English.
Oh.
But I tell you how to do it, and then you know how to talk German. Okay. To make an umlaut, you take the O, make an O for your mouse, and then you say an E with your mouse like an O. Try it. You say with your mouse like an O, and that's an umlaut. But in Ellis Islands, they don't know that. They don't know how to do it. And so they spelled my name
You can sit in this chair over
Goetz,
here.
and they pronounced the Goetz. I just figured, well, that's okay. I'm in America now. They can call me Von Goetz. That's okay. But that's the way. I'll tell you, Sherman that's an interesting language. You know how you have accents here in the United States? In German, there are accents. In Germany, when they talk, it's very flipped, very short. They make a difference, especially up in the north part of Germany. And then the south, it's a little softer. By the time you get to Austria, it's music when the Austrians talk. It's just lovely and a much softer sound, nicer sound. Even the music, in German, when they're famous for the marches. They do 1, 2 marches. Austria, we waltz in Austria. I tell you a story, and that will tell you something about Austria and how. But I went there with 4 of my children. I was living in North Platte for years and years, and 4 different times I would take children over for trips to meet relatives and to see the old world. And we went to Scotland. The beautiful moors and the hills there, and the lovely people up there in Scotland. They talk funny, but that's all right. We went from Scotland. I was with 4 of my children, and we went from Scotland to Austria, to Vienna, where I was born, and then we went from there down to Mount Vesuvius, because I wanted them to see that. That's a pretty special place with all that volcano. But when we were in Austria, that was the same year that Johann Strauss Jr. wrote The Blue Danube Waltz. So we heard that the first year it was made. And you probably know that song. That's an old song. Well, I was born in Vienna, and that was a different time. Vienna, Austro-Hungarian Empire. Oh, come in. Hello. And that was, here's a chair, madam. You come and sit in this chair. You should be comfortable. Then you'll be in the shade of the tree and everything. There you are. Good. But Vienna, that was the Austro-Hungarian Empire then. And that was, Austria stretched much bigger, all the way from over to the Black Sea. My father was a civil engineer in Vienna. He was, would you sit down? Sure. It's a good place to sit.
Thank
And you're welcome. Glad to see you and have you here. But my father was a pretty important man in Vienna. He was a civil engineer, so he was the chief in charge of building new buildings and such. Beautiful city, you should go there. It's just lovely, just lovely. And my father was head of civil engineering there. He was also a lieutenant in the Austrian army. Now, this was the time, 1843, he was in the Battle of Leipzig, which maybe you heard about, and then 1845, he was in Waterloo. He was a lieutenant in the army there. And then I was born in 1849, August 23rd, 1849. I grew up in Vienna, in that city, and I was very proud. I graduated from the gymnasium. Now the gymnasium, that's a school. It's like a college for you. And I was in that school, graduated when I was a machinist. I was trained, so I had a trade. And I became a machinist, and then I joined the Navy, the Austrian Navy. Now they don't have a navy in Austria anymore. In those days, Austria stretched all the way over to the Black Sea, and so the country was much bigger. Later on, surrounded by enemies, and all the fighting and everything. It was awful. But I was a machinist in the Austrian Navy for 4 years, and then it was the first time I came in this country was 1869. I was not actually in this country. I was in Mexico, and I came here as a companion, aide, and a helper to Emperor Maximilian, and he was my good friend. I came with him in a hunting party, and so we were there. And then a couple years later, in 1871, is when I first came in the United States. Actually, really into 1872 by the time we got here. And I had gone back to Austria with Maximilian, and then I started out on my own. And the Civil War was gone and over, and I was a great admirer of Abraham Lincoln. He founded the Republican Party, and I was always a Republican after that. And I was at first a machinist in Munchunk, Pennsylvania. Now that's the place where they make, for the children, they make the slates. You know, when you go to school, you have a slate all your own to write on, and those come from the mines near Munchunk, where they get that slate and make it out. So children all over this country had those slates, and I was working for the Lehigh Valley Railroad. We'd ship things all over there, and I was a machinist for the railroad for 7 years, and I was happy there, but I got married a year after I came over here. I met my beautiful Anna, and we were married. We were married for, that was 1873 that we got married, and she died in 1928. And that was when our marriage. I got a picture. I got a couple of pictures to show you. This is me when I was young and pretty. So, you see all that hair? Now my hair's all gone upside down. And then I have a picture of Anna and me when when we were having our 55th wedding anniversary. And that, do you know what kind of car that was? Can you tell? Do you know that
Ford?
car? No,
Is that a Rolls Royce or something?
You're right, it's a Packard. That's what it is. How did you tell?
I just guessed.
You
Because
well,
that was the big card back then.
that was a good guess, yes. You could always tell a Packard. You see the hubcaps there? That was the wooden wheels. They kept those until about 1920. But those they have a hexagonal hubcap.
Oh,
And you can always tell the Packard from the hubcaps.
oh, good.
And that's my beautiful bride, Anna.
And it's nice to meet you, Großpapa.
Oh, yes. Hello. Everybody called me Großpapa. You know why? When the kids would come, give them cookies. They all loved me. So we were. Let's see. We were married in 1873. Well, 1881 came. It was a terrible depression. It was very hard. I went west. Go west, said young man. And so I did. And I was going to Ogden, Utah. Such a long trip, and I was so, well, I made lots of friends on the train. I made friends every place. And I saw, see, this is my granddaughter, my great-great-granddaughter. I'm so glad to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Good to see you. But I went on that train. I was sitting there with a couple of guys, with several, there were 4 or 5 of us, friends on the train, and we were sitting just talking, and the conductor came by, and I saw that conductor, and I said, say, could I please have a bottle of water, because I'm thirsty. And he said, water? What do you want water? You got a bottle of whiskey right there by you. And I said, well, yes, that's my whiskey. I want a drink. And so he said, well, you got it wrong out here, boy. He said, that whiskey is for drinking. The water's for fighting over out here. You don't want that. And so, well, I convinced him. I traded my bottle of whiskey and had a bottle of water. And we made friends, and he said, he was talking to me, and he said, asked me, you know, what I was doing on the train, and I told him I was going to Ogden. And he said, you don't want to go there. You want to go to North Platte, Nebraska. So that's where you get a job as a machinist. You work for the railroad. They need machinists there. He said, when we get there, you find me, and I'll have you meet the person to talk to. And he did. We stopped in North Platte for refuel and everything. And I had I found the conductor, and he brought over the head of the whole machine shop there. That's the Union Pacific. In 5 minutes, I had a job. And I lived here from 1881 until 1940 from that job. It's good to make friends. You know, I know I've seen many troubles in my life, but most of them didn't really exist. And so I think you make friends and the rest takes care of itself. When I was with the Union Pacific then until 1888. But I had 8 children, my Anna and me. When So I needed to do something more. You know, North Platte was growing. I had, when I first come here, was 1,300 people about that lived here. Many of them worked for the railroad, and they'd live here a while, and then they'd go on, take off, and go someplace else. But about 1,300 people steady. They said it was a wild and woolly towns then. That's what they said. But I'll tell you what, when people worked, they worked. I was a machinist. We worked 12 hours a day, up to sometimes 20 hours a day for that railroad. And when you work 12 hours, 15 hours in a day, you don't have time to be woolly after that. That's enough of it. So when people tell you those stories about North Platte, you don't believe all of it, okay? There are some good, wonderful people here. And while I was working for Union Pacific, I also started a grocery store. And we had that grocery store for years. Many people know of the Goetz grocery store. And then on 1887 is when some friends of mine, we were all talking. There was a mortgage company here, but it had failed. And so we started a new one. We started Mutual Building and Loan Association. You still see the building where we were, right up at 5th Street and Jeffers Street, right on the corner there. That was our building. But we didn't have a building then, we just had hope. And so we started that. I had $600, and I loaned it to a man named George Finn. And that $600 that he borrowed was for a mortgage for a home, so he could get started. I told him that he could rent my money and I would let him live for free in his house until he owned it. And then when he paid that all off, it was $1,000 we got back. I thought that was a lot of interest for that money, but George, he paid it back. My friend Keith Neville, I was talking to him about such high interest. I didn't want to charge so much. But he said, no, you got to have enough for the business so that it's solvent. And we did. I was the acting director there for years and years at Mutual Building and Loan. And well, that wasn't all I did. I was still having children, and I needed more. One of my hobbies, one of the things I loved was I liked technical things, don't you know? And I would get in the dark room, I'd take photographs, and I'd go in the dark room, and I just loved that. And I loved the people. I loved to take pictures of people. So I thought, well, I should do this for a business too. And so in 1896, I left the railroad in 1888 because I was so busy I didn't have time for everything. But I was still taking pictures. And in 1896, I opened a photo gallery, and I was the only